Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Authorities in Seattle, Washington say that a man has been arrested this week after he allegedly stole an empty school bus and went on a rampage through the city. The incident began around 7:15 a.m. on October 26th when the suspect stole the 33,000-pound bus near South Horton and Colorado Avenue. He then headed through the city's Soto and Central District neighborhoods, swerving through traffic and running red lights at speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. Police say that as they pursued the suspect, he also appeared to be intentionally ramming into other vehicles. It's suspected that more than 20 vehicles were hit during the 15-minute-long chase. The wild pursuit finally came to an end when the suspect crashed into a light rail construction site near Judkins Park shortly after colliding with a King County Metro bus. The man attempted to flee on foot but was caught and arrested by police. While few additional details about the suspect have been released at the time of this recording, investigators believe that he was a bus service employee, although he was not authorized to drive buses. No motive has yet been uncovered behind the rampage, though thankfully it appears no one was seriously injured as a result of the bizarre and dangerous crime.
Authorities in San Diego County, California say that a 43-year-old woman has been arrested and is facing a burglary charge this week after she broke into a house while the owner was away and made herself extremely comfortable. According to reports, the bizarre incident began around 11 p.m. on October 21st, when police in the city of Coronado received a call from a homeowner on Alameda Boulevard who said they believed there was an intruder in their house. The homeowner was out of town, but had allegedly received a call from a relative and neighbor who noticed suspicious lights and movement inside the property. Sure enough, when police arrived at the scene, they also observed strange activity in the house. The lights and fireplace were on, music could be heard from inside, and someone appeared to be walking around on the second floor. However, when officers went to enter the front door with a spare key provided to them by the homeowner's relative, they discovered that it did not work. The lock had been changed. Metal shavings and pieces of the old lock were found near the front of the house. Despite the apparent effort the intruder had gone to change the lock on the front door, when police went around to the back of the property, they discovered that multiple doors had been left wide open. They called in a canine unit and helicopter for backup, and eventually, the 43-year-old female suspect stepped outside, claiming that the house was hers and that her 2 children were inside. Eventually, the woman was taken into custody without issue, and no one else was found to be inside the house. The woman still bizarrely insisted that the home belonged to her, but later admitted that she'd called the locksmith out to the property earlier that day to change the lock. Though her name has not been released at the time of this recording, reports say that she has been charged with burglary and remains in custody.
Authorities in Boise, Idaho say that 3 people are dead this week, including the gunman, after a terrifying shooting at a local shopping mall. According to reports, the incident began on the afternoon of October 25th when a 27-year-old man named Jacob Bergquist entered the Boise Town Square Mall. He was seen wandering around the mall and eating at the food court for roughly 40 minutes, where several witnesses observed him open carrying a gun. Eventually, Bergquist was spoken to by 26-year-old security guard and Army veteran Joe Acker. After a brief conversation, Bergquist began walking away, only to quickly turn around and fire at her, killing her. Then he began to open fire on the other people as he walked through the mall. A 49-year-old man named Roberto Arguelles was also killed during the attack, and at least 3 other victims were shot or injured. Police were alerted to the incident just before 2 p.m. and soon came face-to-face with Bergquist. By this time, he had reportedly left the mall and was found behind a business on Milwaukee Street. Bergquist shot at multiple officers as they arrived at the scene, injuring at least one before he was finally shot. He died from his injuries the next day. At the time of this recording, authorities say that they are still trying to establish a motive behind the attack. However, they have noted that Bergquist was previously known to them. Other reports allege that Bergquist had previously posted disturbing videos to social media where he claimed he was a convicted felon who was prohibited from possessing firearms.
Authorities in Flagler County, Florida say that a routine traffic stop became much more bizarre and dangerous this week after they discovered that the 65-year-old man behind the wheel was in possession of a live explosive device. According to reports, the incident took place at approximately 12:30 p.m. on October 25th, when the man, Louis Branson, was pulled over because of expired tags on his Dodge pickup truck. An investigation into his vehicle's ownership also revealed that he was driving on a license that had expired in 2019. When officers began searching Branson's truck, they quickly discovered a glass pipe in the driver's side door, as well as cocaine and marijuana. However, that paled in comparison to what they found next: a live grenade inside of a sealed metal canister. Branson told the officers that he had found the grenade 3 or 4 years ago while cleaning out a veteran's home and decided to keep it because he thought it was cool. Without knowing if it was live or not, he had put it in the metal canister and driven around with it in his toolbox ever since. He was quickly placed under arrest. An explosive disposal team soon conducted an X-ray of the grenade and determined that it was likely active. It was later disposed of at a nearby facility. In a statement to the public, Sheriff Rick Staley heavily criticized Branson, calling him an idiot who was lucky he didn't get himself killed. Apparently, Branson has an extensive criminal history in Florida and Georgia. He has since been charged with driving with an expired license, possession of a firearm, weapon, or ammo by a convicted felon, and drug counts. As a final bizarre note, at the time that Branson was pulled over, he apparently had some sort of mannequin head equipped with a creepy clown mask in the passenger seat of his vehicle. The clown was likely just some kind of Halloween decoration, but we felt it was worth mentioning because it was just one additional weird detail in an already crazy story.
Authorities in Middlesex County, Pennsylvania say that a wealthy pharmaceutical executive is dead this week after he was murdered during an attempted robbery for his casino winnings. The incident began on the night of Monday, October 25th, when 54-year-old Sri Arvapalli went gambling at the Parks Casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. It was a good night for Sri at the casino, and he cashed out about $10,000 in winnings sometime early the next morning before heading home. However, unbeknownst to Sri, he was being followed. Also at the casino that night was a 27-year-old man named Ja'Kai Reed John. Reed John noticed Sri's payout and decided to tail him 30 miles to his home in Plainsboro, New Jersey to try and rob him. Sri arrived at his home around 3:30 a.m. that morning, and before he could even make it up to the stairs to where his wife and children were sleeping, Reed John allegedly broke through the back door. During the attempted robbery that followed, Sri was shot several times and would die from his injuries. Though Reed John quickly fled the area, a camera at a nearby farm stand caught him following Sri to his house and leaving after the murder. Receipts and video surveillance taken from the casino earlier that night also placed him there at the same time as Sri. At the time of this recording, Reed John has been arrested and charged with 1 count of first-degree murder. The case is still under investigation, and authorities say that further charges could be coming.
Authorities in Campbell County, Wyoming say that a 39-year-old man who was recently arrested on suspicion of drunk driving tried to offer an incredibly lame excuse to officers in order to try and beat a DUI charge. According to reports, the incident began on October 23rd, when police responded to a call about a fight between a man and a woman at a residence on Stone Place Loop in the city of Gillette. When they arrived, the woman involved in the alleged fight told officers that the man had driven off in his white Ford pickup with Oklahoma plates. The 39-year-old man was soon spotted and pulled over by police, where he was asked to exit the vehicle along with his 2 sons, ages 15 and 4. Knowing that officers suspected that he was drunk, the man outright admitted it, but offered what he felt was an important caveat. He said that his 4-year-old was sitting on his lap at the time that they were pulled over, and technically, he had been the one behind the wheel. Needless to say, officers were not impressed by this excuse, especially when they learned that the 39-year-old was already on probation for a previous DUI charge and was supposed to be driving with an interlock device installed in his vehicle. He was subsequently arrested for DUI, driving without an interlock device, and violating his probation. At the time of this recording, the man's name has not been released.
Authorities in El Paso County, Colorado say that they're investigating an apparent murder-suicide that claimed the lives of 4 people this week. According to reports, the terrifying crime was uncovered around 10 a.m. on October 30th when police received a call about a seriously injured person in the community of Glen Eagle. When officers arrived at the residence on the 1300 block of Plyer Drive, they made a grisly discovery. The 2 adults and 2 juveniles were dead inside. Neighbors say that the chilling incident appeared to take a turn a little over an hour and a half into the incident. At first it appeared like authorities were simply investigating the scene, but suddenly tactical support units began to arrive. Some recalled hearing officers yelling, "Come to the door with your hands up," over a loudspeaker. Around the same time, the sheriff's office issued an alert to residents within a 2-mile radius to shelter in place. Unfortunately, at the current time, very little is known about what took place at the crime scene in this normally quiet neighborhood. Police have since said that they do not believe that the community is in danger and suspect the case is a murder-suicide, though have not provided any additional details. The names and relationships between the victims are still under investigation. Anyone with information about the case is encouraged to reach out to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office through their tip line.
Authorities in Austin, Texas say that the routine enforcement of a local ordinance quickly devolved into a deadly standoff this week when a homeowner responded violently to having his grass cut by city officials. According to reports, the incident began around 9:15 a.m. on October 27th, when police officers and contractors working for the Austin Code Department arrived at 10600 Pinckney Lane. Though the property was a 2-story house in an upscale neighborhood of the city, its owner had allegedly refused to take care of his yard. Apparently, this was an ongoing issue which city officials had tried to fix several times before, but the problem continued, leading the city to get a warrant to forcibly cut the homeowner's grass without his permission. For the first little while that morning, things were reportedly uneventful. That was, until roughly an hour in, when someone inside the house began to shoot at police officers. Luckily, no one was hit during the gunfire, and police and workers were able to retreat to safety. A short time later, the SWAT team arrived at the scene, along with mental health professionals and a crisis negotiator. A standoff lasting several hours then began. At approximately 3:20 p.m., the same person, who had now been identified as a man, began shooting at police who had positioned themselves behind the house. A robot was sent in to investigate inside of the residence, at which point authorities realized that a fire was quickly spreading through the house. For 20 more minutes, police tried unsuccessfully to get the man to come out of the house. This continued until the residence was almost fully engulfed in flames, at which point authorities allowed firefighters to try and extinguish the blaze, assuming the man was dead. However, this proved to be incorrect. At 3:39 p.m., the garage door of the house opened and the man stepped outside, still armed. It was at this point that he was shot by a SWAT officer. Attempts were made to save the man's life, but he later died after arriving at the hospital. At the time of this recording, police have not released the name of the man, identifying him only as a man in his 50s. It's unclear how the house fire started or whether the man set it himself. According to reports, the ongoing battle over the grass on the man's property had begun in 2020, after several complaints were filed to the city. In March of this year, authorities had apparently been able to cut the man's grass without any issues. That's it for this edition of Crimes of the Week. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.